Happy Tuesday, everyone, and thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. All right. The rest of this week is going to be very, very heavy on Arizona basketball because of the Maui Invitational. But I figured we needed to do it or just do and get Arizona football and the Territorial Cup, everything that you need to know right here. So let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's get started here on what this Territorial Cup would mean. Okay, now here's the deal. Arizona, ASU both are not at the top of the basketball pecking orders. I don't think that I'm really breaking any news right there. When you look at it, I think that you realize very quickly that these are both programs that aren't very good, but and here's where it's cool for Arizona fans. Arizona is headed in a different direction, though, than ASU. So let's talk about, first of all, how we got here. Everybody knows the deal with Herm Edwards in that he was basically, well, there is no basically around it. He was caught cheating. He had a staff full of people that were recruiting during COVID. He said he didn't know anything about it. I don't know that anybody really believes that. Ray Anderson kept him in there and basically tried to ride it out with him until he couldn't ride it out with him anymore. In a nutshell, that's what it is. Now, it's too bad for ASU fans because, this potentially could have been a pretty loaded roster for them. I mean, you look at it and you would have had, Jaden Daniels, or you had guys who went to LSU, Florida, Florida State, USC, Ohio State, and not only that, are playing, and that's a big aspect of that. Now, when you look at the rest of this roster, you think, well, it's not as bad as it maybe could have been, but it also could have been a lot better. But that's also what you get, though, when you also have inept leadership at the very top. I mean, let's be honest here. Ray Anderson is not a good athletic director. He brought in Bobby Hurley, brought in Herm Edwards. There's a lot to not like about him. And on top of that, he didn't hold anybody really accountable. I mean, Antonio Pierce was clearly our guy. Antonio Pierce, the best mole ever, was caught cheating, and they didn't do anything really about it until after the season, and then he was replaced. But at the same time, I think people also have to realize that Arizona State was kind of in a, how do I put this? Arizona State was in a little bit of a tough situation because you're not going to really have a lot of people who are going to want to take that job. But at the same time, you also have a group of guys who are, I think at this stage, it's fair to say that they're not going to go very far. I don't know that I'm really breaking any news right there. And it is interesting to see some of the success that some of these guys have had. Turn out Jaden Daniels actually isn't that bad. So there's that. Obviously, Eric Gentry at USC has played pretty well. Then on top of that, you got Chip Trainum at Ohio State, other guys like that. So a really good situation there all the way around for players that left ASU. Now, going forward, you would have to imagine that Sean Aguano, the interim head coach, is not going to be the full-time head coach. Now, again, I could be wrong. I certainly could be wrong on that. But I will say this. It wouldn't totally shock me if they did hire him. Because, again, I think the in-state coaches would love him being hired. He could probably recruit, but I'll put it to you like this. As an Arizona fan, you don't really worry anything about that. Now, let's talk about on the field then for ASU, and then we'll get to the on-the-field stuff for Arizona. First, at quarterback, you're probably going to have Trenton Bourguet. Trenton Bourguet, to me, is clearly better than Emory Jones. I don't really know that's probably not the biggest compliment in the world, but I think he's clearly better than Emory Jones, and that he has an understanding of the offense. He knows where he needs to be. He knows, I think, what the coaches expect from him. And his arm is a little bit better, I think, than people give it credit for. It's not great, but he's also not Rhett Rod out there. I mean, he can go out there and he can actually, he can swing the ball out there a little bit. So there's that. Then at the running back spot, Valade is one of the handful of best running backs, maybe in the country. He is absolutely fantastic. He is going to play in the NFL. And he could be a starter. He's that good. I have full respect for him right there. I don't worry at all about any of the wide receivers, whatever with them, tight ends, Messiah Swenson, people like that, whatever. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you've got a group of players that it's a better unit than I thought it was going to be, but again, you still lost a ton of guys. You lost the Markham boys in the middle of the season. You lost this offseason. You lost a whole bunch of guys. Obviously, you lost Eric Gentry. You lost Jermaine Lilly. You lost Chip Trainum, who again went to Ohio State to play defense. But those were guys that all could have been there. This is a team that's just not very good. Now, again, they battle. They do battle. And I will say that on top of battling, there is the aspect that it is a rivalry game. But beyond that, I do wonder where exactly all of this is going to land. Because there just isn't a ton of chemistry. There's just not a ton of camaraderie. And then that's where we get to the University of Arizona. All right, now let's talk a little bit about Arizona. Arizona's been the whipping boy for a long time here in Power 5 football with guys like, let's talk about it with a guy like, let's just talk about it. With at the quarterback position, going into the season, everybody was like, all right, well, what are we going to get here? And obviously, Jaden DeLaura was a big, big upgrade. But at the same time, I think a lot of people had questions about Jedd Fisch, because I think it's fair to ask where, when you've got a guy like Jedd Fisch that's basically been from job to job to job to job to job to job. You do wonder what's going on there. I do think that, and that was a fair concern. It was certainly a concern for me. I'll put it to you like that. I was not thrilled by it by any means. The hire, like I said, as a matter of fact, I thought it was a bizarre hire. But it turned out that what President Robbins, what Dave Hickey said about Jedd Fisch turned out to be true. He said he will be a tireless recruiter. He will be a guy that when push comes to shove, he will always be out there, and he's going to make he's going to really push things. Now, when it comes to recruiting, the offense has been totally overhauled. We've talked about this a ton, and that's obviously a good thing. We've talked about this a ton, but the offense, and I know Arizona looked very, very crummy against UCLA. There's no doubt. Against. I'm drawing a blank here. In the previous game, right there against Washington State, Arizona did not look good and not look good at all. But there are some silver linings to take away from this. First, and that's what we're going to talk about, defensively. We've talked a ton about all the talent that Jedd Fisch has been able to bring in here. Now, where is but it's almost all been concentrated, at least the focus, on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, there are some young players right here who are, I think, have some real potential here to really emerge. And let's talk about some of these in-state. Let's talk about some of these in-state guys. Deuce Davis, again, a guy that, in hindsight, UCLA should 100% have recruited. Or excuse me, ASU should have 100% recruited. There's really no way around it. He comes from an NFL background. Obviously, he led the state in sacks at one of the most important schools that you will, that you're going to come across. And on top of that, he also he's got a little bit of a quick twitch to him. You could tell that he was going to be good. Now, the question was, at what, could he put on weight? And we still don't know that one yet either. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we do know that one, because we don't know that one. But there is that potential, and you can tell just by the way that he's in on plays, just by the way that he's engaged out there. It's easy to tell that he's going to be a player at some point here, and he's already probably a little bit of a player to begin with. Now, the rest of this squad, though, let's talk about Jacob Kongaika Jacob Kongaika, obviously in the middle, and then you've also got Tai Uiagalelei. Those are guys that are going to form the backbone of this defense going forward. This is and again, I'm not really breaking any news right here, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal to be able to have this blueprint already set up, because a lot of times you get these coaches that come in and they try to do it bit by bit, and that's not really the way that you should do it. And Rich Rod was a king of this. Rich Rod came in and he basically said, "All right, I'm going to recruit a bunch of really fast guys on offense, and then defensively, if we can just be bend but don't break." And again, it essentially was that, but it wasn't good enough. Period. It just wasn't good enough. Jedd Fisch knows that across the board, they've got to be talented. He knows that they've got to be able to not really have any weak links, because again, when you're at Arizona, that is one thing that you've got to remember. When you're at Arizona, you don't have a lot of built-in advantages. You've got to be able to work at all levels, and he's done that so far, and I think it's been very impressive how he's done this. Now, when it comes to the rest of this squad, I do think that at the linebacker level with Jacob Manu, I think they do probably bring in Sterling Lane at some point, probably back into that linebacker spot. That's what I'm guessing anyway, but they're going to get that all figured out for sure. Now, with the rest of this team, though, defensively in the defensive backfield, you've got some really, really good options there. You've got, as we talked about, you got Prysock, you got Davis, and Davis especially, you're going to continue to see play more and more, and I think you're going to see him play against ASU. And I broke this down because I wanted to talk about some of these players who I think are going to be huge against ASU. And we're going to start too with Jacob Manu, like we just talked about. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Jacob Manu has 13 tackles and, 2.5 tackles for loss, something like that. Big players like this generally play really well in big games, and I think you're going to see him play really well in this game. Again, could be off on that, but I think that you're going to see him play very, very well. All right, now let's talk about upside here. All right, so here's the deal. When you're talking about upside, you can save money on a variety of different fronts. And what do you mean by that? Okay, so if you go to get the Upside app, okay, that's the first thing that you got to do. Get the Upside app, and then once you get the Upside app, you go on there and you can find all kinds of different deals. When you use it for gas, when you use it for shopping, you're saving yourself money because you're going to get points back at the end that are going to be able to that you're going to be able to cash in on that. So again, Get Upside app, Locked On College. Again, give us some love. Let them know who sent you there. But again, whether you're driving, whether you're shopping, this is the place where you can get on there and you can actually get some pretty good deals right there. So again, all right, now we're going to be back here in just a second, and we're going to talk about the rest of this U of A ASU game. All right. Welcome back to Locked On Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right. Now, this might just be a good time to get into the BetOnline segment as well here. All right. Here's the deal with BetOnline. First and foremost, though, you've got BetOnline is one of the Mount Rushmores, if you will, of online betting. And there's a reason for it. It's because it's easy to use. It's easy to navigate. I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, well, I'd really like to get into, betting, but it just seems overwhelming and there's a bunch of different things. BetOnline is easy. You hop in there and you find you can either bet in-game, you can bet future, you can bet props, you name it. Now, where I would go with this is I would bet the over, meaning that if Arizona scores over a certain amount of points in a game, then you win. I would bet the over in all of these Arizona games right here. Because again, I think while Tommy Lloyd definitely runs a more aesthetically pleasing offense that, than others, there are times when it can get bogged down a little bit. And that, that happened in the tournament. So, but generally, I like where Arizona's at. I think that they're going to be more than okay. I think they're going to score a lot of points, and I would bet this Maui Invitational right now on BetOnline Sportsbook. Check it out, BetOnline Sportsbook. We will be right back with you, and we're going to get predictions for the Territorial Cup. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, so I'm guessing this most people, especially in this game, and you got to remember things about rivalries. I think sometimes people poo-poo rivalries because they're like, oh, well, it's not North Carolina Duke, or it's not anything, it's not anything like that. But it's still, when you've got somewhat even talent and you've got a visceral hatred, let's be honest here. People in Tucson hate people in Phoenix and vice versa. I'm not saying they should, but they definitely do. And that's always been the way that it is. I do think that, but I think Arizona's just got better players here. I hate to be that trite about it, but I just think Arizona's got better players. I don't really know. I don't really know what to say other than, Arizona just got better players than ASU, period. And that's pretty much where I'm going to be able to leave it at. And so I think offensively, Arizona is going to be able to dominate them. I really do. I think Arizona is going to put up a ton of points in this game. And I actually think that ASU, while better than I thought they would be, I think they're going to really struggle to score, whether that's Trenton Bourguet, whether that's Emory Jones, whoever the case may be. That's where it's at. So now prediction. I'm going to go Arizona. I'm going to go Arizona 31, Arizona State 21. I think Arizona wins. I don't think it's a blowout, but I do think that Arizona will win this game, and I think they're going to win this game handily. So we'll find out. If Jed Fish can win this game, you've got 5 wins going into next year. That is obviously a huge deal. You can sell. We had one win in year 1, 5 wins in year 2. Then you're really trying to push for that 7 or 8 realm. But again, I'm going to go 31-21. This would be, Arizona fans need this. This would be a great way to go into the offseason for Arizona football. A lot to look forward to, especially in contrast to the people up the road. So again, we're going to sign off here. But we will be back with you tomorrow, breaking down all of the Maui Invitational, everything that goes with that, obviously. Okay, now you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. We will be up with you tomorrow, getting you ready pre-Thanksgiving as well. So again, everybody out there, have a very safe rest of your